Hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're at in the world, and welcome back for another Hornet Security webinar. And today you're here for our Spring Buzz webinar, where we're going to share some product updates and talk about some of the new cool things that we've got coming to our product stack. Again, as always, my name is Andy Syrewicze. I'm a technical evangelist here at Hornetsecurity, and as always, I got a good buddy with me, Matt Frye. How's it going, Matt?
Yeah, not bad. Thanks, Andy. Thanks a lot. Yeah, my name is Matt Frye. I'm heading up pre-sales and training and education here at Hornetsecurity. I've been a Microsoft evangelist for about 25 years, heading up an IT support company for 10 of those years before joining Hornet. So yeah, we've got a few years between us, mate. Just a few.
We do indeed. So, well, I know we got a lot to cover in a short amount of time, so I think we're just going to dive right into the agenda here. So first thing we're going to do is just some really short introductions. Then we'll get into 365 Permission Manager. We're going to talk about some enhancements to advanced threat protection within our stack. We'll talk about a new mailbox migration tool we have, as well as my personal favorite, VM Backup version 9. So lots to talk about, a lot of cool stuff coming in the pipeline here. So again, we kind of already mentioned who we are. Again, my name is Andy Syrewicze. I'm not going to give you the whole spiel again, but in case you have any follow-up questions, you want to just say hey afterwards, I am somewhat active on Mastodon. I'm down at the infosec.exchange instance, so feel free to hit me up there for more information. Or if you're really interested, you can go out to github.com/asyrewicze. Apologies, you'll have to spell my last name, but that has all the different ways you can get a hold of me as well. And then Matt, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention about yourself.
No, all good. If anyone wants to contact or reach out to me, then frye@hornetsecurity.com. You're more than welcome. Drop me a line. I'll happily engage.
Sounds good. So a real quick word about Hornet Security. So we are a global expert in email, cloud security, compliance, and backup. So, I'm not going to read the slide word for word, but at the end of the day, our job is to help you keep your organization secure from the bad guys, right? And that's what we do here at Hornet Security. So with that, let's get to 365 Permission Manager. And this is a really, really neat product, and it solves a really important issue that exists in 365 today. So in order to really understand what the problem is, you have to really take a step back and take an objective look of what Microsoft 365 really is. And it really is offered as a platform as a service, right? And you have to be aware of the shared responsibility model that Microsoft has with its platforms like Microsoft 365. So we're talking about 365 in terms of shared responsibility. Microsoft basically says that, hey, us Microsoft, we're going to take care of the application, OS, the virtualization, servers, the infrastructure, right? And you, the customer, are responsible for security, backup, data, and compliance, right? So that's really what the shared responsibility model comes down to. So that takes us to some of the challenges in Microsoft 365, specifically around file sharing and SharePoint and OneDrive for Business. Let's start by talking about kind of the management challenges around that first. So when we look at the last couple of years, starting with the pandemic, we had a lot of organizations make that switch from on-premises to cloud services with M365. I had a lot of rapid growth in SharePoint teams, OneDrive for Business, and M365 groups. Now, in terms of managing this, if you're the IT person trying to keep your hands wrapped around this, you have a lot of different management portals you have to jump through, a lot of hoops you have to jump through just to look at the various permissions and sharing settings that have been used across your organization. Now, when we talk about the data access component of this, think about how easy it is to share data using 365. So just today, I think I've utilized the sharing feature in Office documents probably 5 times, like in the last 4 hours, to share documents with team members, right? It's that easy. Well, the problem with this is when you look at the default permissions when using features like this, the sharing features, the default permissions are quite extensive, right? And the problem is there's no centralized overview of who has what kind of access, what is shared with who, and that type of thing, which then ultimately makes governance difficult, right? So assigning compliance policies and intervening on policy violations becomes difficult. Orphaned resources is a big problem. So let's say, you have someone in HR who shared a bunch of stuff throughout the company and maybe outside of the company, then that user leaves, and now, okay, those shared files they're out there, but the share is orphaned, right? Because that user is no longer active. What kind of visibility does the administrator have into that? And it becomes a reporting and documentation issue ultimately, right? So that is why we created 365 Permission Manager. What this tool allows you to do is it kind of provides ease of use around this whole problem. It gives administrators a convenient way to get a comprehensive view of the permissions across SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. So you can see what has been shared and how and by who. Really creates a lot of time-saving benefits because you're not moving between all these disparate management portals that I mentioned earlier. And then in terms of other value add that you get out of this tool, it helps you with governance compliance by enabling you to set and enforce compliance policies for sharing sites, files, and folders. And it also allows you to do monitoring. So, if you want to know when a certain file has been shared or it's outside of the policy that you defined, you can get notifications as part of that. So again, I know this is kind of a really quick run through of what the product is, but rest assured, we're going to be coming out with additional videos and future webinars that deep dive into these individual product sets. So with that, Matt's going to spend some time and talk to us about the enhancements to our advanced threat protection suite. So Matt, I'm going to pass it over to you, my friend.
Perfect, thank you, mate. Yeah, and thanks for that on the Permission Manager. I wanted to drop in one little real-world example, actually, that's really pertinent, and I only found out last week with regard to permission rights within Permission Manager. If you have, obviously, for example, you have a read policy, default Microsoft policy called read, and that gives read-only rights to it. If you make a custom policy called read with a capital R or a lowercase r to differentiate between the Microsoft one, that actually can be set, can be used, and whatever features you put behind that, so i.e. actually, yes, you can share, yes, you can allow other people to come and view documents or whatever else. And if you go into the default settings and click read, it will show you the default read policy, not your new read policy, because it's a bug in the back end. So If those kind of things on top of everything else you've mentioned there that I think are absolutely valuable. But again, with our tool, you'll be able to see clearly that this file has been shared externally. That might breach a policy. But yeah, sorry, I didn't want to jump into your section there, but it
no worry, I appreciate that.
Something valuable I learned the other day. So ATP, well, what is ATP? Well, ATP protects companies against targeted and individual attacks via email, ransomware, something like TrickBot, spear phishing, CEO fraud, blended attacks. And in addition to industry standard detection measures such as sandboxing and URL rewriting, we also rely on high quality engines for URL scanning, freezing, malicious document encryption, this kind of stuff. And we use AI-based detection mechanisms obviously in the background. And on top of that, we've got real-time alert monitoring. So if you've got mails getting through or you want to know in advance of things that are happening, you can get those real-time alerts to you. So what have we got coming out with this? So first of all, we've got a feature enhancement, our URL rewriter. This is being enhanced to what we're now going to call secure links. And this protects users from malicious links in emails. It takes the original link, it rewrites it, it puts it through our own secure web gateway, and then that gives us the ability to deep scan these links. Okay, we can do proper recursive scanning of the targets. We can follow the links and look for malicious web resources and issues, and then ultimately we can block those sites from your end users, which just gives them that extra layer of security and compliance as far as we're concerned. This just enhancing our ATP product. Then on top of that, what have we got? So new feature, QR code analyzer. Why do you need a QR code analyzer? It's a straight question that comes out of the book. Well, I think the link is actually down here now. Thank you for adding it, Andy. The bit.ly link to say that there's something like 200% increase in utilization of QR codes around the world. Even my local dog walker has a QR code on the lamppost that I pass in the day now for me to scan and pick up her details to help walk my dog. So everybody's using these, and the problem is, as soon as it becomes commonplace, as soon as it becomes something that you see in an everyday life, you just begin to accept it and trust it and don't think what might be behind it. But of course, ultimately, it can generate a link to a website, and then ultimately a cyber criminal can put whatever they like behind it. So this new feature built into ATP coming out soon, this will give you just another layer of protection. And we can also, it's worth noting, that we can see these inside images based inside emails too. And this will further enhances our ATP product so that now we have a service that protects from even more attacks: malware, ransomware, blended attacks, SEO fraud, web links, and now QR codes. Cool, so what else have we got? Mailbox migration tool. Okay, so you have an in-house Exchange server, you're on the move to Microsoft 365. Yes, there are plenty of tools out there to help you do it, but if you're already an existing customer of ours, then let us help you through the process as well. Within our CP, by clicking the Total Protection onboarding package, you'll get an option now to say, would you like to migrate? And if you would, then our tool will help you pick up those emails, calendars, contacts, and shift them into Microsoft 365 for you within the whole onboarding package. Again, just making it one simple platform. There are plenty of ways of doing it. Microsoft offers some, other people offer some, but it saves you going elsewhere to have a look. It's all within our platform. And during the migration, you can see quite clearly the percentage and how it works. So it's easy, it's time saving, you're safe and you're protected. And of course, you've got a full Delta Sync feature, which helps duplicate emails and gives you everything back to your mailbox at the other end. Cool.
All right, I think I'm back up again. Thanks, Matt.
No problems.
So now we're going to talk about version 9 of our VM backup product that's going to be coming out. And if you're not aware, we do have a virtual machine backup product. So often people are familiar with our 365 backup product. Sometimes they're unaware that we do have a virtual machine backup product that supports Hyper-V and VMware-based virtual machines. So really, this is a powerful and reliable tool. I spent a lot of time in the trenches as a IT professional, and if I put that IT pro hat back on, I'm a little biased, I know, because I work for Hornetsecurity, right? But if I put my IT pro hat back on, our tool really is super easy to use in comparison to some of the other backup applications on the market. So in terms of what we offer, one of the new things that's coming in version 9 is immutability, right? And if you're not familiar with what immutability is the idea that I'm going to write a block of data, and then from then on, no one can change that block. No application, no user, nothing can change that block of data. It's written and done. And what this does is it helps with ransomware situations, right? Because we know how ransomware functions, right? It comes in and it rewrites and encrypts our data. Well, if it can't write that block, it can't do anything to it, right? And so this is an anti-ransomware capability. In terms of other advanced features that are in the suite, we've got augmented inline deduplication. So when you're sending data to the backup location, only the changed blocks go over. We have a lot of other companies in the backup space that send the whole payload over, then they dedupe it on the storage location. No, we only send the stuff that has to go, only the change blocks. We also have some major storage space savings that are coming in V9. We also have WAN optimized replication that's existing in the product already today, and then centralized backup management via a web interface, a control panel. So all very easy to use and really helps you get up and running with your backups quickly. So again, talking about V9, I've kind of already mentioned the big hitter piece of that, right, is the immutability. So a little bit more detail on that. I've already talked about what immutability is, but we are going to be providing that capability using Wasabi and Amazon S3 cloud storage to start. Azure cloud storage will be coming at a later date, soon to follow. From there, other benefits, I kind of already talked about all this, not gonna beat a dead horse here, but like I mentioned, you have tamper-proof backup data. The other key piece here is there are some compliancy requirements coming up in the world now that are starting to require this type of protection with your backups, right? Some insurance companies are starting to require this, and it helps you fulfill those types of compliancy requirements. And again, the key piece here.
Apologies, Andy. Sorry, I'm just saying. I think it's out of date, but I think it's a key point there that the insurance companies are starting to take this seriously. some when last year, and this year they're starting to look at absolutely more serious involvement from you as a customer. And this immutability is something that they're going to start to ask for, I think, this year. Absolutely.
Definitely, because I think so many of them have gotten knocked on their rear ends, right? I mean, you hear about these astronomical damages in terms of money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's money at the end of the day. Absolutely, every time. And there have been some huge people hit and hit harder than you'd expect them to have been.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely. So yeah, this definitely helps kind of get out ahead of that requirement. You know, if you want to be insured, which I think we're getting to a world where it's going to be more and more of a requirement. So it's just becoming the cost of doing business, right? And then a couple of other under the hood enhancements to VM backup here with version 9 is we've got some scalability and robustment improvements. Now we've had a request for a while now to make the solution be able to handle larger infrastructure, and we've made a lot of under the hood improvements to help allow for that. So that should help with much larger deployments. All right, so 2 other key points I want to mention here. I wanted to make sure I mentioned the bottom one specifically is offsite repository data retention can now run concurrently with other operations. So that data retention, repository data retention is an operation that happens on the offsite data storage. That can happen concurrently with other operations now, which before it had to wait until other operations were done. So again, it's just kind of a life improvement, right? In terms of managing your backups. So with that, I know we kind of sped through a lot there. If there are any questions, go ahead and get them into the questions form. We will try to cover any of them we have with the time we have left. But Matt, I know you wanted to spend a little bit of time and just kind of talk about the product stack a little bit end to end.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here because I think your video is paused too, Andy. So I think we may have lost you on that score, but we can still hear you, so it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, just give everyone a kind of an overview of, if you already know us, then you're probably used to plan 1, plan 2, and plan 3, and plan 4 is the new one for you. If you don't know us, then welcome to Total Protection from Hornetsecurity and our 4-plan solution for you. Plan 1, business, Total Protection Business, gives you spam and malware protection, email encryption, and signature and disclaimer products to give you some kind of governance and compliance. We have Total Protection Enterprise, which adds on to the back of that advanced threat protection, which I've spoken to you about today, email archiving and email continuity, and then our Total Protection Backup Plan 3, which adds to the product suite Microsoft 365 backup, including Teams, mailboxes, OneDrive, and SharePoint sites. And then finally, Plan 4, which is the big new product launching any day, which includes Permission Manager, which Andy spoke about at the beginning, giving you permission alerts and permission audits, and also our SaaS product, our security awareness service product, which allows you to train your users, test your users, and then train them and educate them on what to look out for, and make them your final line. Apologies, lose my voice there. Make them the last point of call for your business.
The human firewall, as it were.
Oh, human firewall, indeed, absolutely.
There we go. All right. Appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. Now, one thing I would ask of you viewers before we look at the couple questions that we've had, how would you like us to follow up with you? Basically what you can do with this is you can choose 1, 2, or 3, and you can punch that number right into the questions form and hit enter, and then we'll be able to see, how you responded to this. So 1, if you want to sign up for a newsletter of ours. 2, if you'd like to get a free trial of 365 Total Protection. Or if you'd like to have more of a in-depth discussion, select option 3 to schedule an individual appointment with one of our experts. So I will go ahead and give you a second or 2 to do that while I look at the questions. There was 2 questions I saw so far that I wanted to address. The first one was, how does ATP compare to M365's ATP Defender? Now that's a good question. What I would suggest we do on that particular question is hit option 3 here. And we can have a product expert sit down with you and talk about what features specifically in Defender ATP that you are interested about, and we can kind of tell you individually how those compare on the ATP side on our side.
Absolutely.
With that, the other one is what does the email migration tool cost? That's a question for sales. Matt and I are both technical guys, and we would probably get shot for talking about pricing on a webinar. So I would highly recommend that you go out and talk to sales. You can also email sales@hornetsecurity.com with that question as well, and somebody will get right back to you on that.
And it's built into our total protection onboarding packages. So again, I think it also depends on the package you choose. So.
Yep. Another question here, is there a recording that will be available? Yes, we are recording today's webinar, and Absolutely. It will be available at a later date. And then just maybe time for one or two more here. Let's see. What do you think the best asset of Hornet Security VM backup is from other backup solutions? Ease of use. Ease of use. I've worked with our backup solution for a long time. Ease of use is our claim to fame. You know, I've worked with a lot of backup applications throughout my career, going all the way back to, does anybody remember when it was called Veritas Backup Exec? I'm dating myself a little bit. You can probably see the gray hairs a little bit, right? But way easier than a lot of the other backup applications out on the market. So, all right. With that, Matt, I think we're wrapped up. Quick one today.
Yep. All good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. But I know we covered a lot, but I think it's today is all about giving you the high level, quick show and tell of what's coming here at Hornet Security. Give you all the information you need to know that we're still growing as a company and expanding our product suite. If you want to know more about us, as Andy said, hit option 3, get a session with us, and we can get any one of our team to go through in a more deep dive aspect or more personalized approach for you.
Definitely. You can always go out to www.hornetsecurity.com for more information as well. And again, I mentioned it once already, but sales@hornetsecurity.com as well is an avenue you can go to. Or you can use those contact methods that Matt and I mentioned earlier in the chat as well if you have a follow-up question there too. So other than that, I want to thank you all for attending today. Matt, thanks for being my co-pilot on this one, and have a great day.
You're welcome, Andy. Anytime. Good to talk to you, mate.
You as well.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care.